For every darts pro who wins hearts with a smile and a clean game, there's another who turns the crowd ice cold with every glance, every pause, every throw. In this sport, greatness isn't just about averages, it's about attitude. Some players become legends for their class and composure, others for the chaos they leave behind. From pub heroes to pantomime villains, these are the darts stars fans either can't get enough of or can't stand to watch. Stephen Bunting doesn't look like your typical darts star, and that's exactly why fans love him. No ego, no theatrics, no villain act. Just a steady hand, a wide grin, and a game that speaks for itself. Nicknamed the Bullet, Bunting burst into the spotlight in 2014 with a BDO World Championship win that made people take notice. But it wasn't the trophy that made him a fan favorite. It was who he was when the cameras weren't rolling. Bunting plays with a rhythm that feels almost casual, like a guy throwing in his local pub who just happens to be beating the world's best. There's something refreshingly real about him. No forced bravado, no gimmicks. And when his career hit a rough patch, injuries, slumps, a brutal run in the Premier League, he didn't lash out. He stayed grounded, put his head down, and worked his way back. That comeback moment, a massive nightly win in Berlin during the 2025 Premier League. He broke down in tears, and fans everywhere felt it, not just because he won, but because it clearly meant something deeper. And then there's his walk-on. It's not angry, intense, or overproduced. It's pure fun. Titanium by David Guetta hits, the lights flash, and Bunting walks out with that signature grin. Arms up, crowd clapping along. It's not a performance, it's a celebration. He doesn't try to intimidate, he invites fans in. Off stage, he's just as down to earth. His TikTok and YouTube channels give fans an inside look into his world. Practice sessions, travel stories, match reactions, unfiltered and genuinely funny. He's not chasing viral fame, he's just being Steven, and that's exactly what makes him so easy to root for. He may not have the biggest trophy cabinet, but in the hearts of darts fans, Bunting's already a champion. But not everyone earns cheers. In fact, one player went from world ranked to being booed off stage because of a single cough. At one point, Justin Pipe was ranked among the top 10 in the world, steady, clinical, and calm under pressure. But somewhere along the way, the crowd turned and they never looked back. Pipe's downfall didn't come from poor form or bad luck. It came from something far more frustrating: his style. Nicknamed The Force, Pipe's painfully slow, methodical throw wasn't just unusual, it was infuriating. Matches dragged, energy disappeared, fans groaned, players complained, and commentators danced around the subject. But viewers? They didn't hold back. To many, watching a Justin Pipe match felt less like sport and more like punishment. Then came the moment that sealed his fate. In the 2018 World Championship, Pipe faced Bernie Smith in what should have been a forgettable first-round match. But just as Smith prepared for a critical throw, Pipe appeared to cough, loudly and perfectly timed, right in his opponent's backswing. The clip went viral. Slow-motion replays showed exactly what fans feared, a move that looked less like coincidence and more like sabotage. Pipe denied it was deliberate, but the damage was done. Forums lit up. Fans called it one of the dirtiest tricks they'd ever seen. From that point on, Pipe wasn't just slow, he was distrusted. Every cough, every pause, every glance sparked suspicion. And the boos, they weren't playful, they were personal. For some players, being hated is just part of the show. But for Justin Pipe, it became the only story people remembered. And yet, for every fall from grace, there's a rise from nowhere. Because the next player, he nearly quit the sport altogether until one unexpected win changed everything. Before the walk-ons, before the trophies, Nathan Aspenol was just a lad from Stockport scraping together a dream. He worked jobs, juggled bills, and chased darts in spare moments, never quite sure if it would pay off. There were nights he nearly gave it all up. Money was tight, results weren't coming, and the sport felt a million miles away. Then came the shock. In 2019, Aspenol stormed through the UK Open, beating the odds and taking the title with tears in his eyes and nothing left in the tank. He wasn't supposed to win. He wasn't even on most people's radar. But he played fearless darts, knocked out giants, and walked away a champion. Fans didn't just notice, they connected. Because Nathan doesn't pretend. He's fiery, emotional, and brutally honest. He talks openly about nerves, mental strain, and the fear of dartitis, something most players avoid mentioning at all. After big wins, he talks about his kids. After losses, he owns it. There's no polish, no act, just a fighter with heart. And when he steps on stage, you feel it. The crowd roars, the energy shifts, and the beat drops. Mr. Brightside by the Killers hits, and the whole arena sings along. It's more than a walk-on, it's a moment. A snapshot of everything Aspenol brings to the game. Passion, chaos, and full throttle emotion. He celebrates the highs, wears the lows, and never hides from the pressure. Even when the form dips, the fans stay with him. Because they know, win or lose, Nathan Aspenol never phones it in. But not every young star stayed on track. One player had it all, titles, talent, and the spotlight, until it all unraveled in front of the world. Adrian Lewis was supposed to be the future. Back-to-back world championships in 2011 and 2012. Effortless power, silky smooth throw. Even Phil Taylor called him the next big thing. For a moment, it looked like Lewis was about to carry darts into a new era, but that promise didn't last. As the years went on, the headlines changed, from praise to problems. Lewis became known less for his brilliance and more for his attitude. Slumped shoulders, sarcastic smirks, visible frustration. When things went wrong, it showed, and fans started to check out. Then came the tipping point. In 2017, during the UK Open, Lewis was accused of aggressive behaviour after a heated clash with Jose Justicia. It turned physical, and the fallout was ugly. Lewis was fined and suspended. Suddenly, his name wasn't trending for wins, it was trending for warnings. For some fans, Lewis was just emotional, a misunderstood talent who wore his heart on his sleeve. But for others, the excuses wore thin, the tantrums, the outbursts, the wasted potential. It all added up. The cheers turned to groans, the respect faded. Today, when Lewis takes the stage, the reaction is mixed. Some still hope for a spark of the old jackpot. Others, they've already moved on. And while Lewis struggled with image and attitude, the next player made cockiness an art form, and fans loved him for it. Eric Bristow didn't just play darts, he built it. In the smoky chaos of the 1980s, when the sport was more pint glass than prime time, Bristow swaggered to the oche like he owned the place, and more often than not, he did. 5 world championships, 5 world masters. Bristow made winning look casual and dominance look easy. He was cocky, arrogant even. But here's the thing, he backed it up. Every word, every stare down, every bold prediction. Fans didn't just tolerate the ego, they expected it. Because behind the bluster was a genius with a dart in his hand and a vision for the sport. Off the board, he shaped more than his own legacy. He spotted a young Phil Taylor, mentored him, and even paid out of his own pocket to get Taylor started. Without Bristow, there may never have been the power. That alone puts him in a different league. Even as the title stopped, Bristow never faded. His sharp wit, unfiltered takes, and love for the game kept him a central figure. He was raw, passionate, and impossible to ignore. A fan favorite not because he was polished, but because he was real. But not every big name stayed beloved, because the next player went from surprise world champ to suspended brawler, and the fall was fast. In 2018, Adam Smith-Neale shocked the darts world by winning the World Masters, a huge upset that had everyone saying the same thing, big dog is coming. With a confident swagger and fearless play, it looked like a new star had arrived. But his rise was short and the crash was brutal. Less than a year later, Smith-Neale suffered a serious injury. A drunken fall during a tournament trip left him with a broken leg. He showed up to the BDO World Championship on crutches, and unsurprisingly crashed out in the first round. Fans chalked it up to bad luck. But what came next ended any benefit of the doubt. In 2024, during the Neath Darts Open, Smith-Neale punched his opponent after a match. No blurred lines, no speculation. It was caught on video and it was ugly. The backlash was instant. He was suspended for 8 months, and darts fans, known for their loyalty, turned ice cold. Petitions circulated to ban him permanently. Sponsors distanced themselves. For a sport that prizes discipline and respect, Smith-Neale crossed a line that most fans can't forget or forgive. He might still have talent, but the trust? That's long gone. And while he's fighting to stay relevant, one legend never had to. Because when you've won more than anyone else in history, you are the sport. Simon Whitlock isn't the most decorated player on the circuit, but ask around and you'll find he's one of the most loved. There's something about the wizard that darts fans can't help but root for. Maybe it's the wild hair, the rockstar walk-ons, or the Aussie grit. Or maybe it's because he never plays it safe. He plays like he's got nothing to lose. From the moment he reached the World Championship final in 2010, Whitlock stood out. Not just because of the result, but because of how he did it. Unorthodox, unshaken, unapologetically different. He didn't look like the typical darting hero, and he didn't try to. That's exactly why people connected with him. Whitlock is the king of the unexpected. One minute he's missing sitters, the next he's landing outrageous finishes, double-double checkouts, impossible combos, absolute madness. But it's not just the shots, it's the intent. He never backs down, he never plays boring, and fans love that fire. Even when his ranking dipped, even when others counted him out, the crowd never did. They show up, chant his name, and will him through matches because they see the effort, they see the fight. Whitlock doesn't coast. He scrapes, claws, and throws every dart like it matters, because to him, it does. He's the underdog who never quite disappears, the wild card who can beat anyone on his day. And in a sport full of polished routines and cold precision, Whitlock brings chaos, emotion, and unpredictability, and fans absolutely live for it. But while Whitlock earned love by staying true to himself, the next player lost everything by crossing a line no one could ignore. In 2006, Jelle Klaasen shocked the world by winning the BDO World Championship at just 21 years old, the youngest ever to do it. Confident, smooth, and fearless at the oche, Klaasen looked like the future. Big throws, big potential, big expectations. But behind the scenes, it was all about to collapse. In 2012, Klaasen pleaded guilty to sending explicit messages to a minor. He received a suspended sentence. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Sponsors pulled out, fans turned cold. He issued an apology, but the darts world had already made up its mind. This wasn't showboating or mind games, it was something darker. And for a sport built on respect, the line wasn't just crossed, it was obliterated. From that moment on, every match he played came with a shadow. Every walk-on brought awkward silence or open boos. Klaasen kept playing, but the damage never healed. He didn't just lose momentum, he lost trust. For many fans, his name became a reminder of everything the sport didn't want to be associated with. And yet, even with stories like this, darts still has its cult heroes, the kind who break every rule of appearance, style, and form, but win hearts anyway. In darts, being loved or hated rarely comes down to averages. It's not just about how many legs you win, it's about how you carry yourself when the lights are on, and even more when they're off. Some players earn respect through grit, humility, and raw emotion. Others lose it with one moment of arrogance, dishonesty, or worse. But whether they're adored, despised, or somewhere in between, they all have one thing in common. They made fans feel something, and that's what keeps people watching. Because in this sport, reputation can be built in a season or shattered in a second.